Okay, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to everyone joining us today. And happy Water Awareness Month from the Arizona Department of Water Resources. I want to quickly remind participants, please mute yourself during the presentation so that we can hear the presenter. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. So during that time, I would encourage anyone interested in asking something, please unmute yourselves at that time and ask your question, or feel free to type it out in the chat and it can be read out for you. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared through the ADWR YouTube page for those who missed it. I'm going to provide a brief Water Awareness Month introduction and then we can continue with the webinar. The Arizona Department of Water Resources and our water conservation partners from around the state invite you, your family, and your neighbors to join in the celebration of Water Awareness Month, or WAM as we like to call it. The WAM website was first launched in 2011 and is overflowing with ideas and activities to help you learn more about water conservation and to become more aware of our state's most precious resource, water. The availability and quality of our water supply is critical to our quality of life. Therefore, this essential and precious resource was recognized by Arizona's governor in 2008 with an executive order that designates April as Water Awareness Month. Many thanks to Arizona's water awareness partners from around the state who contribute events, tips, and resources to the website and help to promote water awareness. Next, I would like to introduce our speaker, Dawn Collins, who is presenting today's webinar titled Arizona Tourism and Water-Based Recreation. Dawn Collins has been with Arizona State Parks and Trails in various roles and positions since 2006. Dawn earned a PhD from University of Arizona in 2004 and a project management professional certification in 2020. Currently, Dawn leads statewide outdoor recreation planning efforts, including updates to the statewide comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, the non-motorized and motorized trails plan, and the boat and watercraft study, along with other duties as assigned. Dawn, thank you very much for joining us today, and over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for being here today. So my aim today is to let you know what is known about water-based recreation and tourism in Arizona from my perspective, and to hear more about kind of what you know about water-based recreation and tourism from any of the reports or anything that you do with your agencies. I would love to hear more and add some resources to my folders. So with that, today we're going to be talking about a couple different studies and plans that we do that Arizona State Parks and Trails leads. The first is the 2021 Boat and Watercraft Study Research Report. This was released in January of 2022. The data was collected in 2021. And it is a collaboration with Game and Fish, and our vendor partners in Brainstorm was the one who collected the data and put it together. I'm also going to talk a little bit about Arizona State Parks, and thank you. I'll let you know. Arizona State Parks and Trails Visitor Survey. We did a visitor survey beginning in July of 2019. That was scheduled to end in June of 2020, but given COVID and stay-at-home orders and all of that stuff, we extended it through September of that year. And then we also are in the middle of doing our statewide comprehensive outdoor recreation plan update. I'm going to refer to that as the SCORP from here on out. It's just such a mouthful. So we're in the middle of updating the SCORP, which covers all types of recreation, provided by all types of recreation providers across the state of Arizona. So those are kind of my three primary sources with a few other resources sprinkled in throughout. And then I would love to talk at the end about how we can all move some of the goals and objectives that we have found in these reports forward. So on to the next slide, please, Melissa. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and start with the Boat and Watercraft Survey. So the primary purpose of this study is to determine the number of days of recreational watercraft use on each of the lakes and rivers in Arizona. So in addition to that, and we calculate that by boat use days and by person use days, but we also ask boaters for various other information. And for the first time this year, we kind of ask for some demographic information as well. Typically in the past, the study has been replicated about every 3 years. We were a little off schedule this year, and we also, like I said, we asked for demographic data as well. So Oh, and we also looked across 4 states, typically in the past: California, Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. This year, for a variety of reasons related to enhanced privacy laws, COVID stay-at-home orders, and a variety of other barriers and obstacles, we decided to focus in on Arizona users specifically. So that's what I'm going to be talking about more. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so boat and watercraft use has risen significantly. So the data for this study was collected from Memorial Day through September 7th, right after Labor Day in 2021. So although we were still feeling some of the impacts of COVID, it was not at least during stay-at-home orders. Stay-at-home orders had been lifted by that point. So as you can see, and this is just focusing again on Arizona boaters, 90% of boaters said that they had used their boats. Registered boat owners said they had used their boat in an Arizona lake or waterway within the last 12 months. And our sample size was over 6,000 boaters. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So for those people, around 700 people in our sample who said that they did not use their boat for the last 12 months, 33% of those did say it was because of COVID-19 and stay-at-home orders. So this study is bound to look a little different than studies in the past, although it does provide us with an interesting snapshot of what was going on during this period. And also the people who were deterred from boating based on COVID-19 and stay-at-home orders did tend to be older, the older members of our sample. Go ahead, please, Melissa. So what do we know about tourism and water-based recreation during the era of COVID? What we know is that some of the ways that COVID-19 impacted boating in Arizona was that many trips that people took were day trips. So those, because the majority of the population of Arizona exists in Maricopa County, also the majority of boat owners, registered boat owners, are in Maricopa County. And so that means that people were trying to take one-day trips, sometimes starting out 2 or 3 in the morning and coming back later that night. So a lot of the lakes that you will see that have been used most frequently are within kind of a day's drive of Maricopa County. The boating groups were larger this year than in years past in some cases, and on average. So this was a great way for people to social distance and still remain in their family boat bubble, which we'll talk about in just a bit. So go ahead, Melissa, please. Great, thank you. So here, now, if you wanted to see all of the lakes and rivers in Arizona, you could go to our website, azstateparks.com/publications, and find the study. These are the top 10 boats by boat use days and person use days. And you can see, much like kind of was summarized on the other slide, that the majority of the top 10 were located in either Maricopa County, which is the lakes in bold, or Mojave County, which are the lakes, the west coast of Arizona, which are the lakes that are in italics. You can go ahead, Melissa, please. One more, please. There we go. Okay, and here we're going to see just kind of the average number of people in a group. So again, group sizes increased this year. This was kind of a safe way to get together and yet stay away from other people. And then this shows the top 10, the places where the average group size was highest. So you can go ahead to the next slide, please. So as I discussed in just a bit earlier, the number of total days spent boating decreased because people were making single-day trips, whereas in the past they might have taken a weekend, 2 to 3 days, sometimes up to 5 days. So, so the total number of days spent boating did go down. If you can go to the next slide, Melissa. However, there wasn't really a change in the average number of boating trips. So people took the same number of trips, but they were shorter in duration. Go ahead. Thank you. So one water-related, although this is all water-related, because of course we're talking about boating, But one thing that did come out of the study, of course, is that one of the key concerns of voters is the impact that lower water levels is having on their voting experience. So you will notice that Lake Powell and Lake Mead were not in the top 10 of our list. First of all, that could be due to location, as people were trying to take a one-day trip, but also lake levels at those lakes were at an all-time low. And so therefore, visitors were not visiting in the same numbers as they had been in years past. And we'll look in a bit to see kind of what economic impact that might have. Please go ahead, Melissa. So what other activities do voters engage in while they're voting? Well, general pleasure voting, of course, is the highest activity. We did get a hold of voters after all, but fishing, tubing, canoeing, kayaking, water skiing, jet skiing. So you can see kind of the percentage of the voters who responded, who did each activity. The information is available to you. Go ahead. Yes, please. So another study that was not done by state parks was conducted by Audubon, the Audubon Society, in 2019. This was from data that was analyzed in 2018. So this would be pre-COVID. But of interest to this group would be the fact that 1.5 million Arizonans, by their calculations, participated in some kind of water-based recreational activity annually. So please note that first kind of sub-bullet, that they considered water-based outdoor recreational activities, biking, camping, hunting, shooting, if people were by a waterway for that purpose. So so this is not just boating or fishing. This included other activities as well. But what they did find was that of those 1.5 million Arizonans, 13.5 billion in economic output was generated, and 114,000 jobs were provided based on water-based recreation on Arizona's rivers, lakes, and streams. So that's something that you can look up as well. Please move to the next slide, Melissa. We're going to be, I'm moving right through this. We're going to be done early. Okay, so another study, I did tell you that I was going to be talking about several different studies today. Another study that was recent was our the Arizona State Parks and Trails Economic Impact Study. So we did a visitor survey, like I told you, starting in July of 2019, went through September 30th of 2020. And based on that information, we worked with University of Arizona in order to identify the economic impacts of water-based of recreation generally to our state parks. So I picked out those parks that have water-based recreation available, which I think you heard from my colleague Ken Sliwa earlier in the month, more about those parks. But you can see all of the different state parks and kind of the amount of economic input that's generated based on visitor group spending. I'm trying to get to slide there. So you can see much similar to the boat, oh, I'm sorry, can you go back just really quick? Similar to the boat and watercraft survey, Lake Havasu State Park was, or Lake Havasu was kind of one of the top rivers or lakes that were visited in our boating watercraft survey, and $72.2 million was generated from spending just from the state park, not taking into consideration other public land managers in that area. Okay, next slide. Thank you, Melissa. So we did also, and now I'm going to flip back really quickly to the boat and watercraft surveys. We did also ask voters what we could do, what recreation providers could do in order to provide them with a better experience. And their comments were kind of broken down into several categories: facilities and maintenance needs, boating and safety education, accessibility for seniors and individuals with disabilities, and communications and administrative services. And I'm just going to focus on a few of those for our purposes here today. If you would go to the next slide, please. So one thing that voters asked for, especially given lowering lake levels and crowding and all of those things, was to please communicate to them real time, if at all possible, what launch ramps look like, is the kind of the crowding and congestion at those popular places. And we've also heard from our interactions with stakeholders and the public for the SCORP that crowding and overuse during COVID has been a real issue and an issue that they would like to see addressed. So due to the lower water levels, they're asking recreation providers if they can extend boat ramps further into the water. And other issues like providing more accessible parking to launch points, etc., came up as well. And also, due to crowding and overuse, there was some issue with litter and vandalism, which is also consistent with what we found with the SCORP process. And so some of the boaters recommended having shoreline cleanups, and they were sure that boaters would like to participate in those. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So the statewide comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, that's the plan that we are currently engaged in. So you can see in the graphic on the slide that the Boating Watercraft Survey is one study that kind of informs the SCORP. The SCORP is kind of like the ring, the ring to like rule all others. It is the plan, the overarching plan that includes all recreation. Arizona State Parks does also do the Boating Watercraft Survey separately and the Trails Plan separately. And so both of those documents kind of feed into the SCORP. We do the SCORP because if Arizona wants to be eligible to receive Land and Water Conservation Fund monies to distribute in the state to support outdoor recreation, then it is a requirement by the National Park Service. It is also a statutory responsibility, and it identifies and prioritizes what the issues are in outdoor recreation for the next 5 years. The grant criteria for the LWCF and other monies that Arizona State Parks and Trails distributes is linked to those priorities. And then it also provides kind of marching orders and guidance for land managers across all jurisdictions in the state of Arizona so that we can kind of head in the same direction. Okay, you can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So we have collected information for the SCORP in a couple of different ways. We have done a random sample survey of Arizona households, Arizonans 18 and over, which is representative of the population of Arizona. So that information will be coming out soon. We also asked our invested recreationist users. One thing we found was that when we just did the statewide survey, there was a lot of people who felt gypped, felt left out. They had something to say about outdoor recreation in Arizona and they wanted us to hear it. And so we also made a public survey available for invested users, those people who had something to say and wanted to let us know. We had a link available on Arizona State Parks and Trails website. We distributed information about that link to other partners through our newsletter and all the social media, all the communication channels that we typically use. So we have those two data sets to inform us from the public side. From a stakeholder side, we did an outdoor recreation provider survey as well. And we also engaged a larger group of stakeholders for this SCORP than we have in, I would say, in my experience with state parks. We had about 77 stakeholders come to 3 virtual sessions. We had a subset of those stakeholders kind of read through some of the information that was provided at those sessions and kind of come up with some priorities for the state and some focus areas and some approaches. So that's what the process has looked like to date. We are in process of analyzing the data, cleaning the data, drafting the plan, and that plan will be out for public comments in June. So we're hoping that our partners on this phone will look through it and tell us what you think. Are we missing anything? Do these things ring true to you, etc. So you can go to the next slide, please, Melissa. So in the SCORP surveys, we look at participation rates. So this SCORP is going to tell us even more about water-related recreation across Arizona. And we can look at that also by region. We're using Arizona Office of Tourism regions so that we can kind of compare some of our data to their data. And also we can look at it by demographic group as well. And then we look at what types of outdoor recreation settings the public is using. What are some of the benefits that they see from outdoor recreation? Are the needs of specific groups being met? What are their funding priorities? What are some of the issues that are affecting outdoor recreation, and what have the impacts of COVID-19 been for them? Please go ahead, Melissa. So we are, so what we know from the SCORP is that 72% of the Arizona public over the age of 18 has recreated at least once in the last 12 months. And almost, let's see, 90-ish% plan, probably more than 90% planned to recreate in the next 12 months. So for those people who didn't, some of those being people who did not recreate due to COVID, the pandemic, they are ready to re-engage and looking forward to recreating in the next 12 months. And I would invite all of you, so all of the publications that I've talked about today, all of the information that we have and we know about water-based recreation in Arizona is available at azstateparks.com/publications. So I would invite all of you to go there and download it, and please use it to inform your processes and your programs and your initiatives. And if you are interested in the SCORP in particular, we are going to be releasing some of the recreation provider survey on the SCORP Land Manager webpage, which is up there in green. The link is up there in green. Or you can just go to the SCORP webpage to kind of keep up with where we are in process. Again, June, I would invite you to please weigh in and read the document and let us know what you think. We are expecting that document to be finalized before December 31st of 2022. It will take effect in January of 2023, and we will move forward with distributing grants appropriately. So that went really fast. Sorry. So what questions? Let's have it. So I would love to hear some of what you or your organization has available in regards to water-based recreation and outdoor tourism. For my knowledge, for inclusion in some of these documents in the future, I would be interested in knowing if you're interested in participating in any of these processes. We're always engaged in one statewide recreation planning activity or another. And also just what are your questions? Do I have water use? Okay, so I see that there's a question in the chat.
Yeah, we have one here from Joy. Do you have water use data for lakes in Arizona other than the large ones that you've shown us?
Yes. So I believe we have, I'm sorry, I do not remember the number. It could be 50-ish, maybe more lakes. They're all in the appendix of the boat and watercraft survey. So I just focused on the top 10 for the purposes of this presentation, but you can go look. Yes, you're welcome, Joy. You can go look in the appendix and find the lakes of your choice. And if there is a lake in there that you know of that we have forgotten, please do send that to me. We will include it in the next round.
Excellent. One thing that I noticed as well, that when you mentioned the potential for shoreline cleanup events, I'm seeing a lot of those with a lot of Arizona waterways, so that's great to see. I was just wondering, for people more interested in taking parts on that, what would be the best way for them to find out more about where those are taking place and how to volunteer for those?
That is a great question. So I can, I'm a little bit limited in how many agencies I know about, but I do know for our purposes, Dead Horse Ranch State Park does cleanups, Slide Rock State Park does cleanups, usually in partnership with other organizations. And so I would say either by signing up for our e-newsletter, or we have an event calendar on our website, and I will make sure that that those opportunities are on there. If they have not been already, I'm assuming that they have been, but just in case.
Oh, great.
And also if for some reason that you're not seeing any, it could be that none are scheduled immediately, but if you're not seeing any, please do feel free to reach out to me. I put, I didn't put so you can reach out to me at scorp@azstateparks.gov or D Collins, which I will put in the chat, at azstateparks.gov. And I would be happy to tell you to go find out for you.
Perfect.
What is going on across the state.
All right, excellent. Excellent. So it looks like, let's see, it seems to be all of our questions right now, but there was lots of good information for that presentation. Thank you very much again, Dawn, for joining us and sharing this with us today.
it was so data heavy. I thought it was going to last a lot longer, but I'm.
Yeah, we got through a lot.
We did.
But,
So, does anybody have any water-based recreation information that would be kind of useful too? Short and sweet. Thank you, Faith. That would be useful for us to know about and to go incorporate into our. If you do know of any, please do contact me at AZ or at my email address and let me know. We're always looking for kind of plans to incorporate. We also are going to be looking. Oh, this is a call to action. We are going to be looking to implement the once we have developed the SCORP with the priority issues. There will be some goals and objectives associated with those issues. We will be looking to implement that document. We will be looking to partner to implement that document. So for any of you out there with organizations who have your own goals related to water-based recreation, etc., please do contact us. We are looking for ways to work together to leverage kind of our small numbers and take care of our water resources across the state. So I would love to hear from you.
Excellent, great. Well, again, thank you for everyone for joining with us today. This is in fact the last of our scheduled webinars for Water Awareness Month. Big thank you to everyone who has attended and helped to make these events so successful. If anyone's interested in checking out any of the webinars that you may have missed, they are all on our ADWR YouTube page. I'm sending that link over now. And let's see. I'm also going to add the Arizona Waterfacts WAM website as well. So we have lots of tips and let's see, upcoming events outside of Water Awareness Month. That's going to be an ongoing thing. We'll always share the events happening near you. So please feel free to check that out. And with that, I'm going to end with that. And thank you again, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone, for your time.